We see a world where there is a direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature.
Good morning. Several years ago, when Halloween happened on a Sunday, and some of you may remember this, I did service. I had flippers on and a diving wetsuit and goggles, and I just remembered as I was getting ready backstage the anxiety of putting that costume on. I remember during that time, all the mental chatter going through my head, trying to come up with the courage just to do it. My mind was a haunted house. Because I was thinking, what will they think? What will they think? Will some people disapprove? And they did. Well, they did, yeah. And what if they brought guests for the first time, Will the guests think I'm always this crazy? That's correct. Maybe it will just confirm what everyone has always suspected, and that is that I'm just plain silly. Yeah, thank you. And even though I was filled up with anxiety about putting on that costume, when I get to think about it, really there are all kinds of costumes that I put on all the time without any hesitation whatsoever. And some of them are mental, I put on these costumes to manage what other people will think about me. Dress this way, act this way, walk this way, think this way, be this way. All of them just disguises. Disguising my real self so that I can be acceptable. Which is an odd thing when you think about how the creative genius of the universe created each one of us to be unique. Fitting in can be very difficult. Have you ever tried to fit in? Forget about it. It's based on this idea from our vision statement. Won't you read it with me together? We encourage our community members to live courageous, fearless lives and to be passionate about its possibilities. Well, that's all good and well, but it can take courage to be ourselves. And in some cases, we may have to discover what is our authentic self. What is it? One of the favorite classes that I teach at the center, and we're starting again in January 2017, is called Beyond Limits. And one of the things we do in that class is we ask students, how does the world define success? We make a list of all the things, and they'll say money, career, certain car, relationship, marriage, 2-point-something children. They give the whole list. Then we say, put that aside for a moment now. How do you personally define success? And they'll come up with a completely different list. They'll talk about happiness, connection, meaning, compassion, inner peace. And then we ask them, and which one of those lists are you trying to fit into? Who are you trying to be? Is it your personal list that drives you? Or are you trying to fit into the list that belongs to the group mind? Who are you trying to be? And then there are the masks that we put on to cover up, to protect ourselves so that others can't see what's really going on. One of the things I do when I'm embarrassed is I make a joke out of it. I act silly because I would rather have you laugh at the silliness than laugh at me. I learned that as a coping mechanism in school, to deal with bullying. But I still do it. I disguise what's going on inside of me to look like someone who is coping, who is strong, even though oftentimes it's just an act and I'm just as clueless as the next person. We're not clueless. I believe that my life is directly connected to yours, and that your life is directly connected to mine in a way that can only make sense when we reveal ourselves to each other. Otherwise, we don't know what we're dealing with. Our music director, Chris, he often says to me, I wish somebody could throw a switch and in that moment, everyone would know everything about everyone else. He said, then the world will be a friendlier place. And I went, I don't know. But I get the point, right? Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, in his book about Jewish mysticism, Honey from the Rock, he offers this poem. Now, it's poetic language, but it's beautiful. Some seem to be born with a nearly completed puzzle, and so it goes. Souls going this way and that, trying to assemble the myriad parts. But know this, no one has within themselves all the pieces to their puzzle. Like before the days when they used to seal jigsaw puzzles in cellophane, ensuring that all the pieces are there. Everyone carries with them at least one and possibly many pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And when you present your piece, which may be worthless to you, you present it to another, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not. You are being a messenger from the Most High. That's a lovely message. You are a messenger of the Most High. The way you are is the message of the Most High. It has meaning and value. Maybe not for everyone all the time, everywhere, but you are not here to be someone else than who you are. You are here to be your true self. And your true self is kind and compassionate and loving and caring and sharing and creative. And maybe you, like many of us, have to remove a whole bunch of masks and disguises to get to that self. It's truly a lovely message to consider. You are the message of the Most High. And what might that message be? Well, I can think of a couple of things. It could be the love that you impart to your children. It could be making a change for the better in your work environment. It could be support that you offer to a stranger or a neighbor. It could be the improvement that you contribute to the way the world is run. It could be something that you don't even notice in yourself. Maybe it comes out of you in a moment of authentic unguardedness when you have no mask on at all. I've been thinking about that. I received a note quite a while ago from someone thanking me for the kindness with which I treated her during a time when her family got into trouble. Things took a nasty turn. It got messy and the police were involved, and I had to literally roll up my sleeves and get down in the trenches to help. And she said that the way in which I treated her made the difference between giving up and going on for her. And when I thought about it and looked back to that event, I realized I wasn't trying to be kind. I wasn't putting on a show. I wasn't trying to be somebody that I'm not. It was just one human being responding to another human being in an undefended way. I never thought much of it until later. It's a key idea, especially for these times, to respond to each other, to respond to the self in each other as a place to begin healing and peace. Because these days it seems to be that we're looking at each other's disguises and responding to the masks and the labels, not the self. Republican, Democrat, immigrant, citizen, gay, straight, or something else. And it's easy to forget that under all of these costumes and labels, there are real people with real hearts and real needs, every one of them containing a spark of the original life. Now, this Halloween, I want to ask myself, and maybe not just for Halloween, am I reacting to the costumes and forgetting the real self? Am I letting the labels frighten me and forgetting the real self? Can I take a moment to listen with my spiritual ears and see with my spiritual eyes through what is going on in the outer? No matter what mask or disguise is presented to me, can I see through to the truth and witness other people's hearts, the hurt maybe and the fear? I think it's an important part of beginning healing. And I know I can't insist that other people take their costumes off when mine is so important to me and my safety. And it's also fun to pretend, because Halloween. You know, where I come from, South Africa, we don't celebrate Halloween. Perhaps that's why it's one of my favorite experiences. I've got no history with it. I've got no expectation, no disappointments, no baggage. So I get to make the whole thing up. Actually, I've discovered everybody's doing that. Everybody's just making up Halloween. I found this on the internet. Halloween has become one of the most important and widely celebrated festivals on the contemporary American calendar. And it's not even officially a holiday. No day off is given for Halloween. No federal decree is proclaimed establishing it as a national holiday. People simply do it. I love that. See what power is in that? Just do it. Do you see what power is in the people? And you know what I love about that reminder? Oh yeah, make it mean what you want it to mean. And make the best out of it. Simply do it. Participate or don't. And I love it because there are so many parts of life that are just like that. Participate or don't. Make it mean something or don't. Make the best of it or don't. My grandmother taught me that. I remember complaining to her when I was young. I was complaining to her about the difficulties of growing up with a special needs brother and how it felt like my childhood was being hijacked and taken away from me. And I remember complaining to her and feeling guilty that I was complaining that I needed new shoes and I didn't want to ask for it because my family couldn't afford it. And her advice to me was, Edward, make the best of it. And then she added, we'll make the best of it together. And in one kind sentence, she taught me it's okay to acknowledge when things are hard and then to stick together to make something better out of it. Another thing I love about Halloween is the silliness. The goofy opportunity to suspend so-called normal life and step out of the expected and the routine and see the world through different eyes, to take a break. In the book of the month, Vital Signs, Greg Lavoie, he writes about it. His language is so beautiful. He writes, ultimately, what we need to do is get out from behind the desk and the chores from time to time and create a little estrangement from business as usual. Isn't that wonderful? That resonates for me because business as usual without a break can really get me down. I can tell when I've been going too long without a break. Can't you? I get all grouchy. I become less focused. I'm more inclined to believe the costumes and disguises when I'm running on empty. I need a break sometimes. And it's not that I want to avoid my responsibilities or pretend that they've disappeared. It's just that I get the value of pressing that metaphorical pause button for a moment to remember the healing power of such beautiful things as the ridiculous, the comical, the humorous, and the magical healing power of interacting playfully with complete strangers and making the best of it together, no matter what. You know, when I see somebody on Halloween at the supermarket in an angel outfit, I don't see a Democrat or a Republican or this or that. I see an angel, and I just love her. And I'm remembering also, it is important for me to understand the difference between taking a break and completely numbing myself and regularly avoiding all of my responsibilities. That's different. Greg, in the book, he warns us that if we consume popular culture to fill up the emptiness, it would be good to remember that popular culture bites back. Because while we're consuming it, he writes, it's consuming us, gobbling up our precious time, emptying us, and sometimes even eating our creativity. That's chilling. Taking a break is something we do for spiritual health, not for avoidance. Yeah, sometimes when I speak to people who are experiencing great difficulties in their lives, if I have the opportunity, I might notice that the troubles are consuming them to the point where they're forgetting their true self. And if I can see the opening to suggest and offer this idea, I suggest that they take a break to do something that takes them out of the grip of the trouble, not to deny what is going on, but to give them the room to breathe and be free from the stress so they can refuel and come back to themselves. And even so, eventually we all have to come back to life, to what we're dealing with, to family, to relating, to sharing, to community building. We can't hide out forever. We have to come back. It's like the day after Halloween, when all the costumes get packed up and put back in the closet. And what's left? And what's left is what was always there, our true self. I think about that, and I like to imagine that we have a spiritual assignment in this regard. And it's this: to figure out how to live in this world without costumes and masks. To bring what is inside forward and live from the awareness that there is something powerful and beautiful in every one of us. And now, on a completely different topic. November 8 is election day. And at the Center for Spiritual Living in Santa Rosa, we are hosting a high watch and prayer vigil all day long on November the 8th. It's open to anyone to come in and drop in. It'll be in our new meditation room upstairs. We'll have prayer on the hour, and in between there'll be periods of silence. You can come in for a moment or spend the entire day with us. And some person might be asking themselves, what does it mean to keep high watch? Well, if you take the opposite phrase, the low watch, you can kind of get the idea, right? One's looking down and the other one's looking up. It's like that. It's a metaphor that describes where my awareness is, what's in my consciousness. And it means this simply: if I look down to the dirt, I cannot see where I am going. But if I look up, I see broader horizons, and my energy and attitude follows me up. And as the song says that we heard this morning, it's in every one of us to be wise. So find your heart and open both of your eyes and look up. And not only will you be lifted up, but when you are lifted up, all people around you are lifted up. We do it not for ourselves, but for our nation too. And I will remind you next week of that option to come and drop in at our day-long high watch and prayer vigil on Election Day after you've voted. And now on another note, a completely different topic. Because it's the final week of our Giving Intention program, the last week in October, I wanted to remind you that those people who submit their giving intention form in the month of October will receive as a gratitude gift an invitation, an exclusive invitation, available only to people who drop their giving intentions in the month of October, and there will be no exceptions. An invitation to an exclusive workshop opening to receiving with me. We'll mail it to you once we've entered in your information into our system. When you help the center to be financially healthy, you're helping us to help each other. I want to read this article to you that describes the way we help each other. It's from our Giving Intention program. In some regards, the center seems like a pretty upbeat place, with lots of folk talking in the social hall about abundance and growth and new possibilities or sharing success stories. But in the midst of all this joviality on any given day, there are also some of us who may be struggling. In many of the cases, the situation we are struggling with could be greatly improved by the introduction of some love and cash to lighten the exterior burden while our inner work continues. We have a program for that, a member assistant program, which is the face and the hands of financial and spiritual support for those times when money and tender love and care can remind us of the truth of our being. We provide one-time assistance for eligible members, and everyone who applies receives a visit paid for with a prayer practitioner so that they can get help untangling the knots so that they can redirect their energy to their life focus. Over the past few years, we have paid for the airfare for a member to visit a terminally ill parent. We have paid for the first and last month's rent on an apartment for a member who had to get out of a very dangerous situation. And we have been there for many of our members who encountered sudden and unexpected economic challenges, whether by way of tragedy, health concerns, or other means. Now, any staff member, practitioner, or the front desk receptionist has a confidential member assistance program application form, or you can download one from our website. When you help the center be financially stable and prosperous, you are helping us to help each other change lives and make a difference. With that in mind, I invite you to take a breath in with me and exhale, letting your eyes close as we share a moment of prayer together. We acknowledge together that infinite self out of which all creation is created. Everything that has form, everything that is invisible, everything that is in the realm of idea, everything that is in the realm of potential, all of it from this self of the divine. We are contemplating this self as being present in us, as the spark of our own life. We are contemplating that we inherit its qualities, if we can say it that way. And I mean by that, its infinite wisdom shows up in us as our personal wisdom to choose and to be clear-headed. Its unconditional embrace of all creation shows up in us as human compassion and empathy and love and sharing. Its ongoing and endless creation shows up in us as our ability to create newness, think new ideas, solve riddles, and make things new. And this prayer that we are praying together is establishing us in our right mind, in our true self, clear-headed, wise, loving, open-hearted. And we give thanks for that. We take it in deeply and celebrate it. And we together expect this awareness to guide us in the weeks to come. We are now empowered to see through the hypnotism of illusion, using our spiritual awareness to the truth that in every one of us, it, the living Spirit, resides. And together we say, and so it is. I invite you to breathe in again and sigh.